and welcome to the Zooming Hoosk Podcast, and I am your host, Dustin DaHusky.
I'm Kurdan Sourpuss.
There was a slight error in our title card.
They probably won't even see
No. But now that I mention it, people are going to be saying, "You fucked up! You fucked up! Good! Now we're forever going to see that from now on.
You can't unsee it.
We are no longer professionals," which...
You're a professional swirl.
We get paid for this, did you know? Actually, we don't get paid for this.
Where's my check?
Where's my check? In fact, let's talk about that.
Yes.
So, we all know, if you're an American, and if it's something that you are absolutely dying to get right now, is any bit of form of compensation to get you through the roughest of times during this pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know that in December, we were allotted $600 for what is called a economic impact payment or something like that. And
Stimulus check.
It's pretty much a stimulus check. So at $600, they're talking about raising it to $2,000, so giving us an extra $1,400 or an extra $2,000. No one really knows which at this point. But we're waiting for the $600, and I haven't gotten mine. A lot of people from work got theirs through their bank, so it's in their banking account and whatnot. So I figured, okay, all right, I probably will get a check in the mail, or I will be getting it through my bank account. Well, while I have been away visiting the Tigs, apparently my economic impact payment check came in the mail. And it turns out it's a credit card. The Department of the Treasury gave
Not even
me
really a credit card. It's like a gift card.
It's
really.
like a gift card. It is technically a debit credit card.
Yes.
With all of its embossings and an expiration date with my name on it. It's got a security code. It's got a place where you can sign. So they treat this like an actual card at this point. But you don't get your money unless you activate it. Mm-hmm. You know what pisses me off about this? I would rather save the money this time.
Yep.
I spent my $1,200 paying off my car. But I want to actually save the $600 just to swirl on it for a while and see what I might need it for, or I may not need it at all, and just keep it.
Exactly.
You know what? No, they gave me a credit card that I have to use, meaning I can't save my money. I'd have to use it. I'd have to spend it.
Yep.
Which pisses me off because there's a lot of, the thing is though, you would think Americans would want to have it in their bank account so that they can write a check or send money to their landlords, right?
You think that's why they did this?
You would think, oh, hey, we have money in the bank so we can give to our landlords, or what I like to call them, our overlords, and then pay them money for rent and whatnot. Well, you can't even actually do that, because how the hell are you supposed to give your landlord this? I doubt a landlord has a credit card reader.
Most don't.
Most don't. They would prefer to have a check. An envelope in their mailbox to show, okay, you paid for this month. But you know what? We get a goddamn credit card. So now I gotta activate this credit card, which I am very, very cautious about using this thing now, because how do I know? Which I gotta read the fine print, which of course it comes with fine fucking print.
Of course.
But I have got to read this thing carefully because I don't trust this thing.
Yeah.
Because is it a credit card that's going to haunt me for the next, which apparently expires in 4 years? I pay my $600, or I spend my $600 on something that I probably don't want to get, but at this point I'd have to get, so I'd have to look at stuff I want to get. Are they going to be sending me monthly installments, or not installments, but monthly credit card statements to show, oh, hey, this is how much you have?
No, they definitely are not.
So what happens if you spend, let's say you spent $594, and most places that take credit card will not take if it does not cover the cost of a payment, unless it's the exact payment. Most credit cards, you just can't I'm going to swipe the first one, take what's left in there, and then pay the rest of it off.
Yeah.
Most places don't do that because it's too much of a risk. It adds complication. So that's $6 that you have left on your card.
It bounces back to the bank that supplied it.
Yeah. So technically, you're screwed out of whatever small amount of money you don't use.
Yep. That happened to me with a card from somewhere else. I don't remember where I got it from, but I remember I was down to like $1.25.
And you wanted to use it because it was your money.
I wanted to use it, and it got declined. And I was like, wow. So
what are you supposed to do with that?
I was trying to buy like a 75-cent pack of gum or something, or a piece of candy.
Right. To make
And it wouldn't go through. And I thought, well, might as well take the card and throw it out.
Yeah. Just cut it in half and... So that
They took it back.
I'm royally pissed off about this because I was expecting a check or an in-bank installment or a direct deposit into my banking account because, to be honest, I would rather just save it just in case of what I might need to use it for because I don't know what I might use it for. I might use it or I may not, but I'm not in the mood to really spend it right now. But since I am obliged to spend it on the lapels of the U.S. government that me as a hardworking and American that must use this money to stimulate the economy. You know what I'm going to stimulate?
What?
May as well be my ass, because I may as well start buying twin tail creation toys, because there's been a few that I've been eyeing up. So you know what, Uncle Sam? You kind of pulled an FU. That knife is close to your giblets.
It was, wasn't it?
You're living on the edge, Cat. You have bravery like no other.
You know my idea?
What?
I think you should buy all the sex things, take a picture of all of them together, and send it to Trump.
Well, his account's no more.
Well, I'm sure we can find him somewhere.
No, I think any time where you see an orange man, I think Twitter's going to just probably axe the account anyway, which, to be honest, I don't want to see that orange man again.
No.
Send him to a forgotten island, and Gilligan and the crew are going to oh, fuck, it's this guy, and they're going to actually find a way to get off their island. Mm-hmm. So I'm a bit pissed off about that. I'm expecting a check to put in the bank to use it how I want to use it. But now I have to spend $600 of this money on something, which I've got a good idea of what I can spend it on. I don't know about art so far, but I can certainly spend it on stuff that I wouldn't mind actually getting. Probably a pup hood. I would like to get a customized pup hood.
Yep.
Maybe a toy or two from Twin Tails, because there's been a few things that I've been eyeing up, and you know what? Hell, if someone's giving me economic aid money, I may as well just stuff it up my ass.
There you go.
And spend the rest of it more on automotive sales information for future videos that I plan on doing. So I may as well get as much cataloged information as I can online that I can put in my physical collection. Because there's actually a lot of videos I'd like to talk about in the future regarding interesting subjects. Probably only interesting to me, but hopefully if I do a professional job enough of presentation that it could be entertaining for anyone. But besides that, yeah, I'm a bit salty about.
I don't blame you. I am too. As soon as I heard them talking about it at work, I thought, oh boy, this is going to piss a lot of people off.
And
it's like his last FU to us as he leaves the White House.
Okay. So this little piece of paper that came with the envelope, this is about the equivalent size of a paper check, right? Mm-hmm. They sent us a card. This petroleum-based material with a magnetic strip on it. They embossed it. They put a little chip, the chip reader.
Yep.
They took some silver some silver plastic leaf to it to make the embossed letters shiny.
Yep.
This costs more to make than this little piece of paper that could be the check.
Yep.
Why they thought this was a good idea, the card I'm holding in my hand, why did they think this was a good idea to send to people when a little piece of paper with numbers and your name on it that you can sign on the back, take it to your bank and say, I am not shoving this up my ass. This is going directly into my checking account, my checking account's ass.
Yeah.
So when you really think about it,
Money-wise, saving, yeah, it would save money, but they, I mean, he knew exactly what he was doing with this. He knew that forcing people to spend the money is best thing for the economy.
which it would be great if people made more money, but the problem is so many people are eyeballs deep in debt
Yeah.
that to the average American, you're better off paying as much debt as you can freely without actually spending much more money than you'd want to.
Yeah.
Because you're in further debt anyway if you spend more without paying it back. You're just better off paying it back and then spend more. I don't know which is worse.
Yeah.
Frankly, yeah, what are people going to spend the most from their $1,200 that they got from last spring? And you know what? I spent it on my car payment because that's where my money would be best used. I didn't save it, I spent it, but it's going to a good cause. My car payment is only one payment away from being paid off. Because of that $1,200, I am not going to be spending another 2 months paying this car off. So, it helped. Did I use it to stimulate the economy in other ways? No, because you know why? I am going to logically use that money in the best way I think it can work for me. And, well, most Americans aren't in the condition to spend more money that they could rather use to save up for something that they absolutely need. Now with the stupid credit card that some Americans are getting their getting their stimulus check in their bank accounts. So those people have the ability to save. While some Americans are forced in the predicament of needing to spend the money that they may want to rather save anyway. I don't know. I'm just a bit salty by that. It should not have to be.
Yeah.
I still think sending out a piece of paper with your name on it, the number 600, and just taking it to your bank would be a lot more affordable than sending a bit more postage weight and a plastic card to everyone or some people. I don't know. I think it's perfectly wasteful.
Yep. And this episode is brought to us by Bud Light.
Bud Light.
It's actually improved since the last time I had Bud Light beer.
It's not bad. I can't have NPR or no PBR because it just gives me upset stomach and a headache afterwards. It's much like Hacker Shore.
I have something for you.
Okay.
Completely flip-flop this entire conversation.
That is perfectly fine.
So this morning when I woke up, I had to go to the bathroom as I usually do. So I had to use the litter box.
Use your box.
Here's my box. I had a funny thing happen when I started to pee.
What did you do?
Well, I don't know if there was a blockage or some kind of something, but it came out of both ends of the slit.
Wait, what?
My urine. It came out of the top of the slit and the bottom of the slit.
I am so confused. You have a phallic, right? You have a phallus.
Yeah.
Okay. And a phallus has one hole.
Right.
Are you saying that you have been optioned out with two holes? Because I'm trying to make sense of the two slits.
Well, no, I'm not talking about two slits. One slit, both ends of the slit. You know how the penis hole is slit down.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes it can conjoin a bit through skin sometimes.
Well, yeah.
Is this where we're going?
Well, no. Just
I'm sorry. Okay.
imagine that all four of my fingers here are the one
Okay.
slit.
All right.
So it comes out of the top and it comes out of the bottom of the slit.
Okay.
So I didn't know how to aim to hit the toilet.
Oh my god.
So, because one end was like really going, the other one was kind of like spurting. Like, when you plug the hose.
You kink a hose, right?
You know when you plug a hose to like make it spray everywhere?
Oh yeah. With
Like
your
a garden
thumb?
hose?
Yeah.
It was kind of going like that. Like somebody was like thumbing it.
You had a ghost thumb on your penis.
I had to go some, I guess, yeah.
Oh my god.
Maybe the invisible man, the same invisible man that...
That's like standing right next to you as like you're peeing. And he's like, I should maybe grab this without this guy knowing. And just like, oh hey, cool, 2 streams.
It's just like a garden hose.
And then you're like, what the hell's going on?
It was weird. I
Oh
was
my god.
really bothered by it, too.
So this episode did not turn into a shitty episode, but now it's
Water
full of
sports.
water. Oh no.
Yep.
So going away from that, there has been a lot of thought about last year with COVID, the pandemic, the shutdowns, pretty much staying at home and whatnot, and everything that is a bit been tossed on its head. I've been mostly at home. In fact, I've only been at home much of last year. We didn't do much.
Nope.
And I'm a very patient person. I'm not impatient. I'm a pretty patient person. But certainly last year, I built up a patience that I would be proud of less patient Hoosk from 10 years ago. It almost feels like pre-cell phone days patience, if you know what I mean by that. Me and Kurdan are old enough to remember a day and time where the internet was not always in your pocket.
Don't tell them our age. Or my age.
Or my age.
Yeah, they know I'm old.
They know I'm Hoosk. So, remember the days when, in order to know something off the top of your mind, unless you were near a computer, you otherwise had to take someone's word for it or be patient to find out later, right?
Right.
So, you gain a bit of patience, or actually you've been building up your threshold of patience up till then suddenly you got smartphones that are smart enough to where you can have access online and have information at your fingertips, which is, well, great. However, it's caused society to be a bit less patient. We take things for granted where many people want things now, almost instantaneously, because we can get that information or whatever at our fingertips.
Yeah.
2020 was a reinvention of myself in terms of now this is a time and day and age where I can't get anything that I'd want, which is perfectly fine because you know what? That's life. It is time to go back 10, 15 years now to a time when you were literally had to be patient in doing things. But not only that, but also to just be patient with what you got.
Yeah.
10, 15 years ago, I wasn't driving, so I literally couldn't do anything. Well, pandemic, there's not much to do out there, so I'm not driving so much. We had a family computer. Although I've mostly been on the computer a lot this whole past year anyway, so that's a big change. But there's things that I take for granted, though. Seeing friends, being with friends, seeing family, doing things, going to fur meets, going to fur cons, doing stuff that I never thought would be taken away that easily.
Yeah.
It's not to say, oh, yeah, in 50 years' time, we're going to be talking about how we had gasoline-powered cars and how that was cheap then, and now we look at that as, wow, that's old-fashioned tech in 50 years' time. We'll take stuff like what we have today granted, right? Well, now, just seeing my dad, who works at a hospital, I rarely ever get to see him because he works at a hospital.
Yeah.
I'm more a risk to him than anything else. I don't see my dad often, which makes me feel sad because I love my dad. But I understand why I can't see him. But it's stuff that I take for granted because you know what? Since my folks divorced, which, yeah, I'm going to say it on here. My folks had a divorce 6 years ago or so. And ever since my dad had gone out of my intermediate family, I rarely ever get to see him since 2014. He only lives 25 minutes away, but even before the pandemic, I didn't see him often in fear of maybe perhaps pissing off the wrong people, but I won't go far into that. Now, looking back at it, it's like, shit, I should have visited more often just because back then I didn't visit my dad all that often. Now I barely see my dad at all. It's just making me really reconsider, just see the people you love and see the most more often as much you can. It's like with friends. I see maybe one or two friends throughout this whole pandemic, and I saw a good collection of them in one point in time for my birthday, because I wanted them to be there. Other than that, I didn't see anyone this whole year. And you know what? I miss seeing my friends. I do talk to them online, but I miss seeing them in person. I miss seeing them at cons, seeing them at meets, just to hear their voice, just to see the freckles on their face, the smile in their like the grin in their smile, and the goofiness that you can see just being with them. And that's the most amount of fun I can get out of my friends, is just to be with them. And last year was lackluster. And you know what? It kind of sucked.
Yes, it did.
So there was a lot of things that we had to get used to from last year, and this is 2021, so I'm expecting much of this year to be the same. There might have some change, there might be some improvement, but I don't think it's going to be fully fixed by the end of this year. I think we're on the way of it getting fixed. I just don't think it's going to get fixed anytime this year. Or if it does, it'll be at the end of the year. What I do see in the future is things I'm looking forward to do.
Yeah.
Going to car shows, working on the Skylark, even if it's with my dad. I would love to wrench around with him again and drink some beer and swear and throw tools at each other because we're pissed off. I miss that kind of environment of, being thrown a socket by my dad or something like that, and me throwing a hammer at him and it totally misses and smashes something else. Seeing friends, going out to see movies with friends, just hanging out with friends in general, just doing things with people that you enjoy seeing. Going to cons, seeing people from across the country that you enjoy seeing. Going to meets to see people from across the state that you miss seeing. I look forward to a lot of things when all this is done and said and done. Will things be the same? Do you think things will be the same after this pandemic?
What do you mean the same? Same as last year?
Or it would be similar to what was before the pandemic?
No.
Do you think some things are going to probably change a little bit?
I think we're in permanent change at this point.
Do you think there's going to be any good change to where it might revert to some of the old ways into the new ways? If that makes sense.
Hopefully, I'm hoping.
Meaning, I'm talking about bigger events that more and more people can crowd together.
Well,
Do you think that there will be a chance where events might be limited to space or to attendees, where now it's not so much of who can be the biggest convention out there? Do you think conventions will have to cap a limit to what is probably safe for the future, saying, hey, we had 12,000 people at this convention, but with the ongoing and current pandemic and how things might probably... You have a pretzel by your penis. It's making friends with you. Yep. Oh, it's totally friends right now. They're holding hands.
My pee hole will hold it.
I actually think there may be a transitional period where there might be competition, not just with getting a hotel room to some conventions. I think it's going to be a ticket of who can actually show up.
What I think of is all the events that have happened over the course of this year.
Yeah.
There was a Harley Davidson convention where everybody showed up. Nobody was wearing masks.
Oh, you mean this past year?
Yeah. You remember that?
Was this in Milwaukee? Because, of course, Harley Davidson is a Milwaukee company. Yeah. It did happen.
Yes.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So tell us more, because I had no idea.
No limits. No social distancing limits. No masks. Max amount of people.
And Milwaukee did suffer from a huge outbreak
Yes,
for the next month and a half.
We were at one of the top, highest states.
With, like, a new spike.
Yes, because of stuff like that.
So, what you're saying is, if you cover your snoot and at least keep a good enough logical distance between people, stay home if you're not feeling well, and do the best you can to keep yourself healthy and safe, you're saying is that as long as we follow basic guidelines, that is just common public decency,
Yeah.
and also too of a communal decency of just being safe about it.
Yeah.
So you're saying is that a big event could still happen. It's just we all have to play by the rules.
Right.
Yeah.
We can have a convention. Honestly, I would like to see
A convention done right now with people following the rules and
Yes.
see what happens.
It could happen. It could
You know what?
happen.
As much as that is an awful risk, I would want someone to do that. Have 2,000, 3,000 furs in one area for a weekend. Do their face masks
Yeah.
and socially distance for a whole weekend.
Can you imagine giant masks on fursuit heads?
I mean, that would definitely show the times. We would certainly know pictures by their dates just by looking at pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be as equivalent to looking at pictures of Los Angeles in the 60s and 70s where smog literally covered the entire skyline because that's all that you saw was smog.
Yeah.
And then the spires of the skyscrapers in the background. You didn't even see the buildings, it was just smog. So, yeah, that would be the total definition of that year if it did happen.
I think it could all happen. But
I think...
You know, with all the Milwaukee, I blame us. Not me personally, but the people in our area.
Because they're idiots.
Because they're idiots, because they just think, oh, this doesn't touch them.
Also, too, Harley Davidson community is very, very conservative.
Yeah.
In 2003, during its 100-year...
Not all, but some.
I don't know, but I guess. During its 100-year anniversary, they had Elton John play as their musical performer.
I remember.
And it was a total flop. They so much so had to celebrate 100 years, 2 years after the fact, to make it up to the fans and the people who were there because they're so bigoted. Who knows? It's been 17 years since that happened. Who knows? Maybe Harley Davidson owners are less macho and masculine than they would ought to be or something. Anyway, my thought about what could happen in our future is, say everyone in the fandom takes a vaccine or takes two vaccines to doubly make sure that they have enough to fight off whatever they can get. There's going to be that one odd person that does not have the vaccine. So I think what cons are going to have to do is they're going to actually ask people if you have proof that you've taken one vaccine to go to a convention now. I'm not saying that it will happen, but I have a feeling that cons might say, hey, we don't want names, but then again, that might also have, I don't know how that would work, actually. So that's actually something we can't enforce, because that alone...
Beyond that, like, when you register, along with registering...
A simple check mark saying, have you taken the vaccine? Yes.
Yeah. temperature taking of every person that comes through.
A panel.
Every time you go into a panel, somebody will take your temperature to make sure that you're clear for going in that room.
Yeah.
So you don't, if we're running a temperature, you can't go in.
Or everyone takes a COVID test a week or two before. While that's a lot of work, but then again, that's also not a telltale sign that you could be positive or negative, because you could get sick along the way and not know it. So
you
really,
get sick while you're there.
Yeah.
People slip through the cracks. That's why this is going to change conventions forever.
I don't think it'll destroy conventions, but it's going to definitely make them think outside the box.
Yep.
I think the days of 10,000 member attendee conventions is a dead dream.
Yeah.
I don't think not to say that it won't be big. There'll certainly be big events. I just don't think conventions will ever get any bigger than that.
No.
Especially at anime conventions, when 30,000 people at ASEN crawling on top of each other at the same convention center as MFF.
You know those people are like angsting.
Yeah, and you know what? There were 12,000 people in 2019 at MFF, right? Well, there were. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
There are 30,000 anime people at the same location, and you know how... I don't know about you, but I felt totally... I don't know, 2019 wasn't that bad. I think most people were doing stuff in their own rooms anyway.
Yeah.
Or at panels. 2016 was bad. 2015 was bad. And you know how everyone crowded the lobby areas, the halls, everything was just packed with people?
Yes.
While 2019 wasn't that bad, imagine 30,000 people in one spot like that. You wouldn't be able to move around.
No.
I really don't think, in this day and age, that we can have that many people in one spot.
Not realistically.
I can understand 30,000 people in a stadium. If it's open air, that's one thing. But when you're in an enclosed building with no open top to it to circulate air, I don't know if MFF will be, in retrospect, the world's largest convention before the pandemic. And I think cons will probably hover around 8,000 people.
What I do see happening is more outdoor conventions.
See, now that'd be fun.
Camping.
I have actually considered maybe doing an outdoor convention type thing in the future.
Yeah.
I got to figure out where I'd want to do it, or do it at my
camping grounds.
And it'd be small, invite only thing.
Forest preserves.
Yeah. I don't want to go the way of Oklacon. I don't want to repeat that stupid mistake.
What was that again?
Oh, it was just people fucking out in the middle of open.
Oh.
They weren't even fucking in their tents. They were literally fucking out in the open. Oh yeah, our stupid room light just decided to go 110% right now. Or the brightness is set at 11, but
I think it's just the other light turned on.
yeah. Definitely conventions are going to operate a bit more differently permanently.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to halt conventions from operating. I think the way how they operate will definitely change. I think cons might say, hey, you want to wear a mask throughout the whole convention? We have people in fursuit the whole weekend, so what difference does it make? You can wear a mask. I think more and more furs are going to get masks of their personas so that they can wear, so that way they feel a bit like their sonas. Which I think is a cool thing.
There's too many people that depend on a convention from one end to the other.
For social interaction?
Not just.
Oh.
For everything. I mean, like, certain charities depend on it for a certain percentage of help and assistance. The people that run it, I think, depend on it to help get their brand out. I mean, comedians, stand-up comedians, lawyers, all the people that stand up in front of us and entertain us, they're using this as a means to get their name out there.
Yeah.
You know, just like, and as much as I hate the guy, but two, you know, he was on his way to becoming a world-renowned comedian.
Yeah.
Had he gone about it a little bit differently,
with some of his material one year.
It would have helped him tremendously, because to be able to cover all facets from one end to the other, not just a what the hell is fandom considered?
A community?
No, an underground subculture.
Mm-hmm.
To hit main culture, to hit all facets. He could have done that had he left his personal opinion about the most faux pas of subjects out of it.
He was going full on George Carlin when he didn't need to be.
Right.
And as many great...
Is a funny, smart comedian.
Yeah. As with many, many legends, regardless of industry, you will never be like the legend.
No.
And if you're a comedian, you can say you're inspired by George Carlin, but you'll never be George Carlin.
No.
And sometimes you're better off not being someone that you're not. And I think, too, Griffin literally tried to become the furry fandom's George Carlin by literally taking two fists up the ass and going full raunch and going full bad take just to see if he can get a laugh out of it.
Yeah.
And then realize there was a point where people didn't laugh.
When you start hitting the, what was it?
Are we actually going to talk about the subject?
Just a little bit.
So he was going off on transgendered people.
That was one.
All right. Because Griffin didn't believe in transgendered people, that you were one thing or another, but you couldn't be something that you weren't born in, or if that's what I got from him.
There was something else. There were other subjects. Rape was another one.
Oh, I didn't hear about this one.
Yes, you remember. He talked about rape.
Yeah, that's something that you don't talk about, period.
You don't?
It's more faux pas than talking about
That is a
transgender
comedian.
people being accepted into the
Smart
community.
comedians could make rape funny. Dave Chappelle could make it funny.
Oof. I don't know if I could laugh at rape.
I mean, you have to do it in a really clever way, and he just was. It was something about the glass being half full, half empty.
I think it's literally threading a camel through the eye of a needle, and if you can successfully do that, then you can make anything funny. But
just for the sake of talking about this, I personally do not think that rape is funny.
no, I don't think it's funny at all.
I'm just saying that with the right talent and the correct wording,
You could make something horrible funny.
right, any masterful comedian can find humor in something and make people laugh as well. But it's not a laughing matter.
No. Unless it's something to actually be serious about, then people
record.
can actually respect you as a comedian, because people take light-hearted understandings of your material, but once you actually go to a level of seriousness and say, you're going to talk about something that people obviously aren't going to laugh at, you can gain major respect.
Yeah.
Because you're willing to talk about something that not many people, not even comedians will even discuss about in public. And if you can make fun of the idea of rape, making it not as powerful, in like giving power to the victims, that's the only way you can probably make it to where that you will reach legendary status, by finding a way to make the victims of rape feel more powerful in that sense.
Yeah.
I think, and then going back to conventions and charities are still always going to need help anyway. I still think cons should have a link to their website if they already don't have it.
Yeah.
To a donating link to their charity to say, hey, if you're not able to make a certain con because of pandemic or future restrictions, after said pandemic is not as bad as we think it is, you can donate whatever money here, or at least as like a final tally of donations throughout a year. Since the closing of the ceremony of last year to the closing of the ceremony of the next year, tally up the amount of online donations from around the world.
Not just.
The universe.
How many? No. Like maybe how many dogs and cats and whatnot have been adopted from said charity.
I mean, that would be fun data too to include.
I would love to see that, just to see how many people have taken their animals into their homes. But that was my whole point, was all these different people depend on conventions.
Oh yeah.
For every reason,
It's the same with artists and writers.
Right, for getting their names out there, for getting money for charities, for socializing for the people that go, for the attendees.
Yeah.
Everybody depends on it. That's why I think it is possible with the right guidelines and limitations set in place.
That conventions can operate at the same, not same level, but the same degree in terms of operation.
But to do this, you guys have got to mature yourselves.
Who are we talking to?
Everyone out there.
So we're talking about staffers and attendees.
Yes. If you are renowned for acting out at a convention, do us all a favor. Please grow up so that we can do this again.
And what do you mean acting out?
Defacing hotel property.
Oh, certainly. Oh, yeah.
Having sex in hallways. Doing things that you're not supposed to do in any social aspect of life in general.
Being totally destructive.
Outside of going to conventions, the things that we do at conventions should be acceptable in any venue. Doesn't matter where you're at, how many people are there. If it's not acceptable at a convention, it's definitely not going to be acceptable in real life outside of a convention. I say real life. I mean outside of con life. If you don't do it when you're, at your job or in your mother's house, don't do it at a convention.
I would say do something that would be considered indecency to the public out in the open. Do it in the room, not in a panel, because technically panel rooms,
public space as your playground for.
Regardless of what people tell you, a panel room is still considered public space.
Yes.
Private space is what you rent at a hotel, meaning the room that you rent.
You paid money for it, so for the time that you're there, it is quote unquote yours.
Yeah, until your time is out. Where if you want to ride the largest elephant dong known to man and get really, really weird with it, all means in your room, go for it.
Right.
In fact, take two of them at the same time.
Exactly. And if you want to build an igloo out of toilet paper and shit, go for it.
As long as you clean up said shit.
As long as you clean up shit.
As long as you're being respectful.
As long as you don't, stay there for 3 or 4 weeks and somehow
evading hotel staff that this guy has been living in our hotel room for like 3 months and thinks it's an apartment at this point. And the bed sheets all smell like ass.
And
And
the
the toilet somehow is squeaky clean.
no, it's definitely not.
I don't think we'll ever go that bad, but as far as like destructiveness, furries should not be as destructive. And we're not that destructive to a degree, but some of us are, and I feel like to make our convention hosts, our hotel hosts, so much happier, as if we become good guests.
Yeah.
Or it's like from our fun Mad TV skit of Good Night and Good Neighbors. If you want to be a good neighbor to someone, they're going to have a good idea about you and a good reflective thought about who you are.
Yeah.
If you be nice and friendly with them and not be a total dipshit. The hotel will do the same thing in that same regard, except not just neighbors, but you as being a guest and them being host. If you show that you can respect the room property in your care while they rent it out to you, and they show that you can be entrusted with said room, they will glad to have you back next year.
And I think that the majority of people that go to conventions do things pretty respectfully.
Yeah.
Because most of us are adults.
I actually personally do not know a single individual I know that has been destructive at a convention, except for one person at IFC one year, and he visits Madison a lot, but he smashed the lamp in a hallway and got banned from IFC for a while. I think he was allowed to come back, or I don't know, but I'm not giving out names. But I was in that same floor.
Right.
And
Anyway, my hope really is that if we can do that, if we can elevate ourselves, we can do this again. We can do conventions again.
Oh yeah, and meets.
And meets.
Meets.
Bowling meets. All kinds of meets.
I think really.
Bowling alleys are open.
Yeah.
Bowling alleys are open.
Yeah.
Why aren't we doing stuff?
I think we're just waiting on vaccine just because there is still a contagion going on. I think once the vaccine is out and when a majority of us get vaccinated, I think that's when meats will come back into the blue again. Meat. Actual meat. I would say running a fur meet is going to be so much, well, it is easier than running a convention.
Yeah.
And does not take any effort. If you hear someone saying that running a meet is hard work, depending on how crazy and how big of a meet it is, but in reality, compared to a convention, meet is very, very less stressful. Yeah. It can still be stressful, but never to the degree of a convention. And you know what? Sometimes the best type of major gathering, meet or convention out there is probably going to be meets because do you know why? You meet all the same people that you enjoy to see every month.
Yeah.
And if you have a community or your local community that has multiple meets in a month, you can see them more often. Such as Seawee, Southeast Wisconsin, where we almost had for a few years a meet on every weekend, and often enough multiple meets on the same weekend. Never has this ever happened anywhere else that I know, unless someone can prove me that you are from a community that has more than 4 or more meets in a month. If you can prove me that your community has that many meets as well as we had, I mean, there's so many meets that did go around here before the pandemic, and it's kind of sad to see things being quiet around here.
Yeah.
Conventions I would love to come back to again, especially now that we're doing podcasts and this and that. It would be fun to have a small live audience. I think we may have fans. I have no idea.
If we do a
probably
live panel, I'm in suit the whole time.
But that means you can't have your snacks though.
I can siphon them in.
Oh. Yeah, are you gonna like?
That's
put them
a
in...
promise too. I promise. Every live panel we do, I will be in full suit the whole time. Naked. Brennan suit.
And may or may not be sitting on a toilet behind the table. Keeping in with tradition.
Yeah, I can't make that promise.
Oh. Yeah, we're not that shitty of a podcast.
I can't make the promise that we won't be on the toilet.
I think it'd be really fun to do live events for those who are interested in attending, just joining in on the cacophony of just absolute bullshit.
You just gave me the best idea too for like the basic description of a panel.
It's all shitty.
Yes.
Oh God.
It's all shitty. Dogs, cats, and shit.
I mean, we are living beings that do produce matter.
Yeah.
It's not matter you can really use afterwards, but...
Can you imagine though? It just literally... Let's go check this It's All Shit
It's all shit.
panel.
Oh my God. And then all the diaper furs like show up like, we're disappointed. And then that one person's like, well, this isn't so bad.
There's less shit than I thought there'd be. Definitely, that's definitely going to be the name of the panel. It's all shit. Because it is. When you think about it, it's all shit.
I mean, really, we bullshit all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, we still talk about something, but for the most part, we're just bullshitting. We're just here just to have fun talking and whatnot. I think that'd be pretty fun when cons do come back. If anything, I don't want to make a full-on promise, but if First Squared becomes a physical con in 2022, I will certainly would like to try to make this podcast a live performance panel for 1 hour. Like our episodes kind of last on an hour on average anyway.
Aim for 45 minutes and ask for an hour block.
I mean, you can't
That way,
you can't do 15-minute increments.
No, I mean like for yourself. That way, they're like people can like ask us questions and you can bullshit. And
yeah, that's always possible. Actually, in that case, yeah.
Make it an internal thing. 45 minutes, because we're at 50 minutes now.
Or you know what we could do is we can ask the audience for stuff to talk about. So as long as it's legal. Legal things only. If you're going to mention something illegal to talk about, we won't want to do it. However, you want us to talk about something for like 5-10 minutes and bullshit about it, we'll talk about it.
Send us your topics.
Tell us about the bottoming of George Washington and his wooden teeth that gives you dick splinters.
Sandpapering. I tweeted about that today.
Sandpapering?
This is my sandpapering. Is it a thing? Do people get off on it?
Oh, no.
Like literally sandpapering.
So what do you do when you sandpaper?
I don't know. I think you fap with like an actual piece of sandpaper.
No way.
That's what I'm asking. Is it a thing? Do you think there's people out there that actually get off on it?
I mean, you can definitely become a cat if you sandpaper your dick to a point and let it heal. You would have a cat spike, but you would lose all feeling of your dick.
For a while, it would heal itself.
Or, you know what you could do?
It's pretty palpable skin.
Sandpapering nipples with 1,000 grit sandpaper, which might be stimulating, but do you know what 0 grit sandpaper is? It's a rock.
Many rocks.
No, just a rock.
Just one rock?
Just one rock. Because if you don't know what sandpaper is, the higher the number of sandpaper rating is finer grit of sandpaper, and the lowest number is more coarse.
Right.
I believe 0 grit sandpaper is just literally you're handed a rock and say, okay, get to work. And you start, instead of sanding things, you're just bashing it into something.
So is sandpapering a thing? Is there anybody out there that's into sandpaper?
Sand. Oh my god, a sandpaper fleshlight. But then you can wet sand your dick just with water or lube, and you can still polish your dick off to a nice shine. You might still be bleeding. Oh god, that's not a fun thought.
It comes down as just. It sounds like self-mutilation almost.
Slow self-mutilation.
So slow, gradual. But the thing is, there's people out there that are into self-mutilation. We've talked about this before.
I don't want to think about it.
I know if we've talked about it on a podcast.
I mean, we've talked about this before, not on podcast. And you once showed me a video of a guy castrating himself.
Castrating?
Or this is a different person then, because someone showed me, hey, do you want to see a guy castrate himself? Like, no, I'm going to show you anyway. And like, oh, come on, dude. Then got scarred.
I mean, the ones I've seen are like the guys that like shove like
glass pipettes up their dick, break their dick with the glass pipette in their dick. So now they have shards passing through their urethra. Why am I describing this?
I don't know. Why are you describing?
I don't know, but you're holding your you're actually holding your pee-pee in sheer fear, thinking of, oh, I'm not doing it to my dick.
I mean, the one that I saw was the guy that shoved a thin glass jar up his ass. You know, like those long like drink things that you get, like a long thin glass.
And did the jar shatter in his ass?
And then he had to pick the shards out of his
Christ.
And there was, blood all over the glass and little pieces of flesh.
I should never have to kink shame people, because you know what? Be into whatever you want to be in, but there's certain kinks that are like, no, this is really stupid.
It's just not for you. That's all I have to say.
Because if you shatter a glass jar in your ass, that is long-term commitment of you will never shit right again. But also, too, you won't be able to take a dick up there. Because you know why? Your ass is so patched up.
Well, at that point, you could take many dicks.
Actually,
you could take that huge dildo that I showed you, that big one. That one guy took.
You think you may have shown me that or something.
Yeah, I did.
Was it ribbed and it made sound?
I don't know. But it was huge. You said it was impressive.
That was impressive if I think of what that video was.
Lauren, that I work with at...
Does she take a big dick?
At the Walmarts. We were talking about stuff like this, and she was telling me about a video of a guy that sticks a carrot up his dick hole.
So did he get reduced to like a fire hose in like diameter where it just like when he pees it just comes out as like a bucket, and that was it?
I mean, that's just at that point you're.
I don't know. To me that's still mutilation
It
in my
is.
book, and there's no joy in destroying yourself.
I mean, the only thing I can understand or even fathom with that is that at some point this person is desperate to feel anything, and even pain.
Or desperate for attention, so they do the most.
Well, more than attention is the pain that gets them off. Because just regular, boring, old vanilla sex doesn't do it for them anymore. So
At the risk of nearly destroying themselves and possibly killing themselves.
yeah.
So there are more risk takers more than anything else.
Yes.
Oof.
There's
Yeah.
people- I mean,
well, if it's
the
something
same
what
could
they
be said of people that the what is it called, the breath thing.
breath play.
Breath
Oh.
play.
Yeah, I don't understand that either.
Yeah.
Again, it's just not something I'm into.
Even
but
just watching the videos, and again, I'm not kink shaming anybody, but it makes me really uncomfortable. I can't watch it.
there's some of these kinks that I look at.
People have died from it.
Yeah.
Dragor will go as far as to say, "Don't mess around with this. I don't care how smart you are, how many times you've done it, how experienced you are from it.
Oh yeah.
People can
Accidents.
die. Accidents can happen.
Yeah.
People can die. I will not say don't do it, but I will not be around to see it happen because I can't."
Oh no, I will refuse to see something like that happen in front of me. I'd walk out the room and say, you know what, this is not my responsibility.
Yeah.
What happens to you guys is really up to you.
Yeah.
And if I don't see you tomorrow, then I know something happened.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm a very vanilla person when it comes to stuff. I'm not that adventurous, which to me is comfortable to me. To a lot of people, it's boring, to be honest. I don't know, the idea of me wearing a pup hood is revolutionary to me, but to a lot of people it's just like part of the experience. To me it's more like, oh, I look like a dog.
Yeah. I was looking, actually, it was funny when you mentioned that. I was just looking at the photos that I took of you wearing my pup hood
Yeah.
and thinking how good you looked in it.
Oh, I looked really good, which actually I can't wait because I found out that my custom-made pup hood would cost about $204.
That's almost half your stimulus right there.
Yep. And the cutlers are part of the cost. So I want to get the colors of my persona and just kind of and just kind of go with that. Now the idea of color placement is something I want to do just to make sure that it looks okay, because this will be my one and only pup hood. I don't want to be buying more. I am a collector of many things, but certain things I'd rather have one of each, like one of something, and that's it. Adult toys is one. Having one pup hood would be enough for me. I mean, frankly, there are certain collections where you would rather have more of. Some you're just better off just having just enough.
So here's just a vague description of our our live podcast at the con. Puppy and Kitty taking on the world's problems and covering them with shit.
No, you know what? I'm using that as the description. It may get bleeped, but you know what?
Well, you could S.
I'll just simply censor it.
S apostrophe T.
Yeah, I actually like that. That's actually a perfect description. And then afterwards, it'd say this is a show about nothing.
Yeah.
Because that's really the inspiration of the show, is a show about nothing. If you understand that reference, you've been on this rock long enough to understand
Not even
that reference.
you've been exposed to something that is important and ageless.
Yes.
And hilarious.
And then being told by a Newman that the USPS is never more efficient than 80%.
And zip codes don't mean anything.
Yeah. Now that's my only reference I'm actually going to say. If you know what I'm talking about, you're cool. And if you don't, you're still cool. Just keep doing your research. I think it'd be really fun. If it's one thing that I miss doing the most is just the stuff that I've been doing in the past, and retrospectively looking back on it and say, I had a lot of fun doing that. I can't wait to do it some more.
Definitely.
When things go back to quote-unquote normal. I don't think things will be normal as it was before, because when you really think about it, we got away with murder with the stuff that we did in society before this pandemic, which...
Definitely we're privileged.
Yes.
Definitely we're privileged. I'm not going to lose hope that this can't happen again, though.
Yeah, it can certainly happen again. Especially when countries are being competitive with each other to damage one to make their growth economically and politically more apparent in the world global stage than anything else. I will only say that, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get another pandemic 5 years after this.
No.
Just a continual attack of biological warfare, which when you think about, this is technically a biological attack.
I will say this one thing. Because of this past weekend, the snow that we got this morning, or last night and this morning, man, was it busy at my job.
Oh, yeah? Oh, because of the snow, so people had to think, we gotta prepare! We're running out of time!
We had full families in there. Like
Seeing the end of the world before Snowflake.
I basically saw all the I can't think of words right now.
It's okay, Kat.
From beginning to end, I saw the beginning and end of life, from the smallest of babies to the oldest of people.
It's like, you guys won't survive.
All there together. I'm thinking to myself, well done. Y'all acting like the pandemic's over. We have to panic and buy everything again. Quick, get all the toilet paper.
My nipples aren't excited, but they're really scared.
And get sandpaper for them.
Oh, WD-40. As a lube. I hate that one part about living in this state is that people panic before a snowstorm.
Not just this state, every state.
I mean, yeah. But you would think Wisconsin, of all places, say, oh, it's going to snow 6 inches? Okay, that's fine. Me, it's snowing 6 inches does not scare me one bit. It just means I'm driving slower.
Yep.
I'm not that much an idiot. I'm not that much a blockhead.
And I'm sorry if you have a huge truck with snow tires on it and chains.
You're going to slide into a ditch anyway.
You better be prepared for people driving slower, because I am not going to get out of your way.
Yeah. Technically, any rear-end accident is going to be the fault of whoever rammed you anyway. And that is correct 98% of the time.
Slow your roll.
Only 2% chance that you will be found at fault, and even still you have better odds of being rammed by someone going too fast while in a snowstorm. And because you're doing 10, 15, or 20 miles an hour slower, they'll realize, well, this guy's playing it safe.
Yep.
Why are you driving at 85 miles an hour in a whiteout blizzard?
Yeah.
You deserve to lose your license. Which, in those exact situations that happen, people do lose their license.
I remember I was working a job, one of the video game stores I used to work for. I was like it was like a 40-minute drive away from my house. And I was still doing the drive because I liked the job. And I got stuck driving down I-88, which is to and from Chicago
Right.
to Aurora.
Very, very, very familiar with that stretch of highway.
And it went from getting on the highway with very light flurries to a full-on blizzard
Mm-hmm.
by the time I was like maybe 15 minutes from my house. Still on the highway with a good 6 to 10 inches of snow driving through it
Mm-hmm.
with a plow like right behind me, like he was going to push me off the road.
This was the 2-lane section, right? Or is it the 3-lane?
3-lane part.
And he was on what side? Or
He was in the innermost lane because they start at the inner lane
Yeah, and then
and
they
move their way out.
sometimes they'll have 3 of them all
Sometimes
at
we'll have
once.
3, right,
So that way
Like
they'll just
one
push
behind
one
the
off
other,
the
right.
other. Yeah.
right. Which is smart, but I was only driving in that lane because that was the most traveled in lane, so I
Right.
didn't have quite as much snow to basically plow through myself.
Let's actually talk about the idiosyncrasies of Midwest winters. So,
Okay.
continue.
Yeah, so I have this plow, huge full-size plow behind me, and he basically was, it felt like inches away, probably feet.
You just only see the the plow, and that's it.
I didn't even see his headlights.
Oh,
So
he was
close.
that close?
It was that close.
That
I
guy
was-
should have definitely not been that close.
No, he
'Cause
should have slowed down.
because
My
he still
whole
has
point.
momentum behind him anyway, that he can still plow good chunks of snow
Yep.
at any speed. There's no excuse why he had to be
It
that
was
close
me and
to you.
him as the only 2 cars on that whole strip of highway. Because it had to be like 10, 11:30, 12 o'clock at night.
He must have been itching to go somewhere.
He
and
was. He was itching to get done with it.
Who cares? It's part of your job.
Yeah.
If
So
you
he
get
would've-
overtime doing it,
So he had to go 5 miles slower. It probably would
Ooh.
have taken him 5-10 minutes longer.
that's part of your
Oh.
job, dude.
You know,
Your job is to plow
snow, not
snow
people.
off of roads. You're not meant to be Speedy Gonzalez with a plow.
Right.
People are stupid, but
Yeah. They drive that way because they
They-
have the tires for it. I mean, they're unaffected by it.
not only that, but you're comparing yourself with a 2,900-pound car versus a 4-ton vehicle,
Right.
which technically you have more grip in a 4-ton vehicle with big giant-ass tires,
Yeah.
because you will probably plow through anything, whether if it's 6 inches of snow or 16 inches or 36 inches. You are technically a moving brick wall that no one will ever really stop you.
Yeah.
The first and only actual I think there was maybe 2 blizzards I've actually actively drove in. One of them I was in the passenger seat with my dad. This was back in 2009 at a reenactment in Michigan, and we came close to smashing someone in their ass, which my dad, bless his heart, he's not a very good driver. In terms of, he is a very dangerous driver. He's got a lead foot.
Does he?
Yes. Actually, with your lead foot in Chicago, only in Chicago, you're more comfortable to drive with than I am with him.
Really?
Yes, because it's his lead foot. Like, when, like, me
That
and
makes me feel better.
so the polecat bought his car, right?
Yeah.
I tried following Dad. He was almost doing 50 in a 35. And I had to call him, say, can you slow your ass down? Because I was doing 5 over. And I'll only do 5 over to catch up. And beyond that, I will refuse to get a ticket because someone's speeding almost 25 over.
Yeah.
Or even 15 over. I will refuse to have someone speed that fast. And my dad, in a whiteout, doing speed limit in a blizzard, in a whiteout, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, there was a Nissan Sentra sedan right in front of us, like 50 feet away. My dad slammed on the brakes, All tires of the Cavalier locked up.
It slid.
The ABS was actually modulating tire traction, so it was trying to stop effectively. And you know what? We were actually within about 2 feet of ramming this guy in the ass. And we slowed and crawled to a stop. And my heart never raced that fast before, and I don't think it's ever raced that fast in a car since. And then, after that, I was like, well, that was really close. And as soon as we said that, the guy, and we were in the center lane, guy in the right lane plowed through, trying to stop, but he was obviously too slow to react, and then slid into a ditch. It's like, well, we ain't saving him because we got better things to do. Which, to be honest, if you're recklessly driving, you don't deserve someone to check up on you. Which, in 2010, I was going up I-43 North near Elkhorn, Wisconsin, in another whiteout blizzard. This is the once and only time I've ever driven in a blizzard. And I forget where the hell I was driving from. And it doesn't really exactly matter, because you know what?
You were headed home?
I was heading home. I was in the mythical Cavalier. And there was literally about 1.5 feet to 2 feet of snow. And you know how you drove in the one lane that people drove in?
Yep.
Well, while there was still a main traveled lane that many people still drove in, there was still a good 6 to 10 inches of snow in the most traveled lane. So I was already up to my rocker panel and up to, not my wheel hubs yet, but if I stopped at any moment, I would have gotten stuck. And I would have just been just a frozen duck in a lake. So here I am. I'm doing 65 or 70 miles an hour in a blizzard. Back in my day when I drove like a nut, I've calmed down a bit over the 11 years I've been driving. Actually, it would be almost 12 years at this point. I'm in the right lane, just cautiously zooming. Then all of a sudden, a guy in a black Dodge Ram pickup truck, a quad cab, lifted truck, burled right through on my left, doing about probably 80 or 85 miles an hour. And I thought,
faster than you even?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, fuck, that guy's going fast. And then I looked at my speedometer at 65, 70 and then said, you know what? I'm going too fast myself.
Yeah.
So I decided to drop down to 55 before I lost traction and started slowing down because the snow underneath the car literally made the underneath of my car smooth. Mm-hmm. That's how much compact snow was there. It was at literally 2 feet of snow plowing through. And my Cavalier, if it had momentum and you kept going forward, was an absolute beast of a car. It kept plowing right through it. And the moment you started slowing down, it got stuck dead on. Well, about 10 minutes later, I saw the guy not flipped up or rolled over and whatnot. No. He was on my right side now in the ditch with his front end of the truck pointing up on this ditch. So he must have spun out, went tail happy, spun into the ditch with his front end pointing up, and he was trying to get out. I slowed down to 45 miles an hour, the absolute slowest I could probably go before my car would get just stuck in the snow.
Yeah.
And I can't help the guy because you know what? If I stopped to help this guy,
You're stuck.
I wouldn't be able to move either. And I'm on the road.
Yep.
So I just kept driving forward, went back to 55, and for the next hour and a half, which would have normally took 45 minutes, total whiteout condition that I had no idea what would be in front of me. If there was another stuck car on the road, I would not have been able to see until it was right on top of me.
Right.
That reminds me of one time driving home from your place when I still lived in Illinois, and the fog was so thick that I couldn't see more than maybe 2 or 3 feet in front of me.
Oh yeah, and that's in the same area.
Yeah.
Because there was a depression.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's almost in the same. Oh, me trying to go up that hill and that same snowstorm was hell because I literally had to put it in 2 to get enough torque to keep going up.
Yeah.
Because in drive the wheels kept spinning going up a hill, which. Yeah. And you know what? That one night, me and that truck were the only people on that entire highway. Mm-hmm. And it seemed like with the amount of snow piled on, there must have not been another car driving in my lane for like another 2 hours.
Yeah.
And that one guy that spun out, I don't think he saw another car for another few hours either.
Probably not.
And this is a time when cell phone reception was not that good. So if you got a hold of someone, you were lucky to get a hold of anyone back then.
Yep.
Back in 2009, I tried calling my folks on my brand new Nokia flip phone back in 2009. Called in the front yard, tried calling my mom in the kitchen, didn't work. That's how bad cell phone reception was back in the day. And that's when we thought it was better.
Yeah, we thought it was. Well, I think we should probably...
Got it?
Yeah.
All right. I think there's a lot that we can look forward to in the coming months to years.
There is.
Some people say that cons will never come back again. I wouldn't go as far as that. I think they will come back, but there's going to be certain restrictions for the time being, or maybe forever, but for the time being, I expect there's probably going to be some restrictions as far as people of how many can attend, if you've been vaccinated, taking different precautions and whatnot. I think fur meets are going to be a bit more lax,
Yeah.
but I think fur cons will find a way to make sure things are safe. Although some cons, I doubt their brains are even working for some, but those that understand that this is a ongoing problem, I'm at least glad to think that they are thinking with their brains and not because they want every furry like themselves to go to convention again, which, believe me, I want to go to convention again.
Yeah.
But I want to do it when it's safe to do so. And right now, it's just not safe right now. Things will definitely get better. It's just we gotta go through the next few months, maybe 6 months, before vaccines are available to the general public, or unless they start putting us on the lists because whether if our jobs allow it or whatnot or this and that. I say people do not give up hope yet. Who knows? This might be the pandemic of our century, like the Spanish flu. Besides polio and a few other diseases that have popped up and whatnot that weren't as bad as Spanish influenza, we can hope this is the worst pandemic of the 21st century. However, it's not to say that it could be the only one, which is the scary bit, is that created in a lab, which means it's meant to kill people. Because only the people with, Wuhan, China, there's not a single case in months. I don't know, to me that just almost sounds too good to be true. Even in some countries that have gotten their pandemic under control, have a few cases spread up here and there, but in a country that's got 1.6 billion people, you would think a few would be here and there, right? I don't know. The Chinese Communist Party is an entity that likes to lie about its stats to make themselves look better. So
they are a wonderful and mysterious thing.
Yep, and sometimes you're just better off leaving it at that. So, I think we'll call it off at that. So, in this case, this is another episode of the Zooming Hoosk Podcast, and once again, I'm your host, Dustin DaHusky.
I'm Kurdan Sourpuss.
And we'll catch you next time, hopefully with me saying no to overtime. We'd be able to have ordinarily planned and timed podcasts like we have in the past. Just overtime's been ruining my life. Well, not ruining my life, but it's been ruining my free time. And I'm hoping that me saying no would allow me to do this more often. So I'm having fun doing podcasts. I know the Poos is also having fun with his podcast. And plan to do more. So thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you next time.